Hey, how are you?
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I was realizing that I didn't have everything all together. How's it
Okay.
going?
Are we live? Because we do all that back chat, which is, you know, so funny.
Okay. All right. So I've got the PowerPoints all set up. I've got the 4 charts. Let's go. Let's take it easy
Okay.
on the personal stuff, though. I've had a hell of a couple of days.
Have you? Okay. Oh, well, in that case, I'll go in hard.
That's what she said. All right. I needed that a little bit.
Go on, you got to laugh.
Yeah.
Life's too serious.
Just
Life's too short not to laugh.
know
Yeah, I
that
know you can hear us, see me. We love this bit. This is where we make it really juicy.
they can hear everything you're saying.
Absolutely everything. All
I know.
about going hard and
We should
everything.
we should probably actually turn this on and go here, right? Well, look at the two of us.
Hello, my darling. How are you?
I totally forgot that everybody could hear everything we're saying, and of course,
No, you
of course,
didn't.
we usually get a little cheeky about the whole thing just for funsies,
I'm
anyways.
a
But
bit. Look, I'm a bit frozen and jerky. Look, it's all
yeah, I don't know what's going on, kid.
got poor internet connection.
Well, I think we've had a lot of connections, and it's funny. I had a reading not yesterday, the day before, and it was very herky jerky, and there's really no reason,
Jerky.
for it to happen. Oh gosh, are you okay?
I'm great.
Okay,
How are
good.
you? You said you've had a shit couple of. Oh,
It wasn't really a shit couple of days. It's just been, it's everything. It's the system. It's the processes. It's the
mhm, mhm.
everything from doctors to schools to just everything. Just not laying out the right way. But
So,
it's funny that you would bring up, you say to us, you say to me this morning, you're like, oh yeah, we usually do this like 2 or 3 days in advance, where we're like, hey, here's our charts, and we've just been bogged down, busy, snow delays, whatever. And then you're like, oh yeah, why don't we do each other's charts? And I'm like,
this is really what you don't want to do. That means we have to do
which means that you'll go hard is what you'll do.
it. Oh,
You'll,
thank you, Simi.
you'll always go hard with that. So what's going on in Europe? How is the
Well,
world looking at Mr. Donald Trump these days?
Mr. Donald Trump is really kind of ramping up the excitement in Europe. I think it's really funny because my speech is about 10 minutes ahead of my actions.
Which is about accurate for you, Miss Taurus.
This is true. This is true. But of course, it's really interesting with Mr. Trump because I'm sorry, President Trump. He's come in with all these great ideas. Um, I just think actually someone needed to say what he's been saying, like to Gaza, for example. I think that needed to be said.
I'm sorry, what needed to be said?
Well, the fact that he said, give us all the hostages or
Oh yeah.
all hell will break loose. And I think sometimes we have to sort of, just say it how it is. It's like
Yeah.
enough of this. And he's doing the same with Putin. He's going in there and saying, come on, we got to sit down. Let's talk about this.
So
It's tax that nobody
listen,
used.
I'm gonna tell you.
Okay, go on.
As much as he, has this bravado right now, I'm gonna tell you this is scripted. Just like everything that he's done is scripted.
Mhm.
Just like him and Zelensky and whatever have, all had conversations behind the scenes. There have been no less than 2 Trump jets. And by the way, that's how he gets away with a lot of this stuff. He uses private communications and private jets, which, by the way, the private communication thing has actually got Hillary Clinton in trouble. There have been in Moscow, there have been no less than 3 Trump planes landed there. Now, is Trump there? No, not at all. But you have envoys, you have whatever. So this has been orchestrated. So the first step in the orchestration is, I'm going to demand everything to go back, and then he's going to be like, then Putin's going to be like, I don't really know about this, and then Trump's going to be like, oh yes, it is. We're going to do this, right?
Oh, I see. Okay.
He's full of shit. Like everything, Penny. I appreciate the idea that he's saying something that should be said, but it's an orchestrated moment of bravado. I mean, the man faked his own assassination attempt.
However, yeah, I heard what you said with that. However, what if it actually makes things change?
No, because this is the whole thing. We're packaged in this idea that change is happening at this fastidious rate of like audits and so forth and so on. It's funny, all of this Doge conversation here in the United States. The first thing you ever do when you want to change something in a grand scale is to audit it and understand what you're really dealing with. The first thing they did was got rid of the auditors. So there's no logic to any of this. They claim loyalty services, and that's part of the problem that created the thinking to begin with. All of those things are nonsense. It's all a giant grift. It's all a giant smokescreen.
Well, why don't we have a look at the astrology?
Yes.
Right, and see how that kind of fits in with what's happening.
Look at us. How about that astrology? How about that?
Hair.
We have like good-looking kids right there. I'll tell you how much. That's what we're doing there. So yeah, I mean, the Zelensky thing is interesting.
Well, it is. It is.
Because I mean, I think we should start with Zelensky here for this reason and this reason alone. He's been so much in the conversation for a long time. I mean, he was the catapult of my channel, of our relationship, and so many things that have kind of come out of it. And you look at what's happening in his 10th and 11th house. He's got a traffic jam up there, and it's mixed. It's all mixed stuff. You've got Saturn trying to stabilize in Pisces, which is a nightmare. And then you have this kind of Aquarian sun with the Mercury moon. What do you think about the about the aspects that are playing on this, though?
Well, it's interesting because Mercury, the planet of communication, has just moved into Pisces.
Right.
So it actually moved in, I think it was earlier today. And so Mercury in Pisces gets a little bit kind of not clear about how one is communicating. It kind of blurs the edges a bit so that one perhaps can end up getting into a bit of a kind of a sort of a whimsical talk about things and rather evading the point, because Pisces, as you know, is very emotional, psychic, and psychologically deep. So I would say for Mr. Zelensky at the moment, President Zelensky, that this Mercury moving into Pisces is going to mean that he's not perhaps communicating as well as he could do, or he's finding it difficult to put across what he feels. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, the Mars in Pisces is also along everything you just said, but it's also the avoidance tactic of conflict.
Mars is in Cancer.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Because it's so much, congruency. And I think we're really, and I know a lot of astrologers, talk about this as well, is, the Mars conjunct coming up as well. We've got some retrograde stuff going on, but eventually when Mars hits Leo again, for someone like Vladimir Zelensky, he's gonna lay it down. A lot of people have pointed to that time to really put Zelensky over the edge. And I could see Ukraine being very docile for a year, gathering themselves up after a peace treaty, and then becoming extremely aggressive by saying, listen, I mean, Trump basically he has no love lost for Zelensky for three reasons. One, he couldn't manipulate him over the Biden information, which there wasn't any. Number two, which by the way, why should a president be involved with trying to get scoop and dirt on other people? Period. Is just disgusting.
Mm.
Number two, he never really looked at Ukraine as a partner in basically everything. Ukraine, cover to cover, match to match, produces the exact same things that the US produces virtually when it
You're frozen.
comes to a lot of resources, right?
Yeah.
And
Internet's a bit dodgy, by the way, just to
I'm sorry, what's that?
the internet is a bit unstable.
Yeah, I can't fix it. There's nothing
Yeah.
I can do about it, and I think it's intentional. I
Uh,
100% think it's intentional.
you know, using this interruption as a good point, I think you're absolutely right about Zelensky and this Mars transit, because remember in April he's going to get that Mars opposite Pluto conjunct, or the Pluto will be in opposition to his natal Mars in Leo, and Mars will be conjunct his Mars. So he's getting this Mars return, and the Pluto opposition, which we get in April, is going to set off a deluge of verbal anger from Volodymyr, which I think is going to be quite shocking. And people, I think he will reach a point. So what I'm feeling and what I'm seeing is that nothing is actually going to get resolved in the short term about Ukraine and Russia, in spite of all the talk of Putin and Trump meeting, etc., etc. I think that things aren't going to look as if there is a potential for change until the spring, but I think something happens and Zelensky is going to come out all guns firing. He's going to be raging round about April, I would say.
I think it's going to go even deeper. I think he's going to. I think they will get some sort of treaty, but I think he's going to absolutely be unabashedly telling the story of the last 8 years in the United States, and
Mm,
basically say, "Hey, listen, I had a front row seat, and you guys, as much as you helped us, you
mm,
were also placating us, and you didn't give us the help we really needed. You were giving us comfort, but you weren't
mm,
making it comfortable." And I'm not going to be surprised if he goes completely rogue and says, listen, I'm going to let somebody else be the president. I have to go be a freedom fighter, and I
mhm,
need to go make everybody's life a misery, that agreed to this.
mm.
And I think he's going to tell the truth about how Trump pulled the strings behind the scenes for the better part of when he wasn't president, and how he manipulated things and pushed things. And he's just playing chess master, and he's not very smart. So,
I
the
think
challenge
it's
with Trump.
Yeah, I think it's interesting what Christine Buckingham has said. She said Ukraine is the gateway to Europe. And I think
Sure
this
is.
is the thing that worries us Europeans, is that it's all very well, that there were a couple of things that weren't kind of congruent, because Trump talked about withdrawing kind of help and support to Europe,
Mm.
right? So that means the gateway is open for Putin to just walk into Europe. And then he says he's going to go to Russia and sort it all out with Putin. So it's like he's giving it's like a double bluff. I don't know which way or what way to believe him on this.
Well, then you just figured out Donald Trump,
Okay.
because he's not interested in peace. He's not interested in anything other than power and chaos. And the only
Mm,
way that he can get to, it's almost like if we were at war with another country, like a legit war with another country,
mm,
someone could power grab that. So instead, he manufactures it. And yes,
mm.
I am not insinuating that he staged his own assassination attempt. I'm telling you he did. You do not pull together the team that he did in the McMahons, in the WWE crap. The bullets
Mhm,
were real. The bullets
mhm,
had to be real, because if
mm.
not, that's the only piece of shred of whatever.
Yeah.
But this is a man that will stop at nothing for the grab of power. And Elon Musk, as much as you know, anyone with a half a brain is like, this isn't right. Donald Trump will turn on him, just like
Mm,
he's going to turn on Zelensky,
mm,
just like he's going to turn on Putin eventually. This is not about what's right in the world. It's about what's not right in his head.
mm,
And my frustration level with this is, you know, we're divided on the ground here. You know, we have neighbors like cursing each other out, going, I can't believe you're so stupid. And it's funny because they're like, I can't believe that you don't see what's going on. I can't believe that you can't see all of this wasted money. Well, it's sheer ignorance. And you know, Penny, that's the thing. He's thriving on people's ignorance.
mm.
You know, US aid, USAID
Yes.
was established and was the basically the clearinghouse for humanitarian aid. Now, were
Mm,
some things spent that were probably like, I don't really think that's appropriate? Sure,
mm,
every organization has it. You know,
mhm,
I'm going to give you a great example. I have 14 boxes of paper clips. You know why? Because every time I go to the store and I go, hey, do I have paper clips? I buy them anyways. I am a wasteful spender. I should be shut down. There
mm,
is, instead of auditing and saying, I'm going to take a look to see how many paper clips I have before I go out and buy anymore, which
mhm,
is the correct action.
mm,
They're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. They're also, you know, this retirement, this early retirement of federal workers is
mm,
just insane. All that they're doing is they are eliminating legacy knowledge. That's it. That's all that this is. Get rid of the people that know better. Get
mm,
rid of the people that know better. Get a commodity in there at a lower price. They're trying to use a capitalistic idea with a governmental plan, which they don't understand anything about governments. I think Zelensky's going to go rogue here, and I
mhm,
think he's going to be true. I think he's going to go, okay, everybody, I'm going to give you what you want because we're tired of fighting, and
mm,
then he's going to broker backroom deals himself and say, if this is how you're going to do, right?
mm,
Yeah,
mm,
and Janelle brings up a really good point. USAID, who was the clearinghouse for this, was the backbone of the United States farmers. So instead of looking at Trump and the administration as somebody that's cut wasteful spending, right? Cut wasteful whatever. It's no less than what we've done with every other treaty we've ever had in this country. We break them. We don't. Our promises are shit. They
mm,
do not cross over generations because we don't have a belief system.
mhm.
Um, God, I'm sorry. I'm really trying not to go off on this and stay on
I
point, but
no, I think I know where you're coming from, and I think we should try and stick a little bit to the astrology and, you know, rather than a political rant. But I think it would be interesting to look at Trump's chart with these transits, right? Because I'm thinking about the Gaza situation
oh
and
gosh, yeah.
what is potentially happening or not happening tomorrow. At the moment, Hamas have said they will release 3 more hostages, but I believe Trump said you've got to let all the hostages go, or all hell will break loose. But I'm not sure if I'm correct on that, but that's what I thought
Yeah.
he said.
Yeah,
So they're only going to give a
orchestrated,
little
yeah.
to try and so let's have a look at Trump with these transits.
Yeah, because you know, something else with this too, with Trump and his transits. You know, one of the things that oh, and by the way, Ann Lippman, I'm so sorry that I'm not placating to the Trump authoritarian you know, crap. And listen, in the whole hill of beans, I'm losing my freedoms. I don't really care if I lose another viewer. So, anyways, back on this, the entire conversation with Trump, I think it's interesting. There's two things that pop out for me, but what do you see first?
Well, it's the Uranus on the MC,
Yep,
and
there it is.
this is almost like the last hit of it. So when that Uranus goes over his MC, uh, he's really going to be doing more thing. We thought he'd done enough now in terms of shocking us all, whether it's good or bad. I'm trying to stay neutral in this, but he's going to come out with something even bigger, even bigger. This is going to be so big. We're just going to go WTF. is what I think.
Well, I think it's his megalomania. I think that's, when Uranus sits on his, on his MC, that's him going big or going home. And listen, it's pretty parred for even his ascending, right?
Mm. Can I
Right.
can I say something to Anne Lipman as well? Anne, my love, I think it's lovely that you love me and you hate Brandon. But I'm I'm probably trying to, in a sense, play devil's advocate, and I'm bringing in a European view. And I think that one of the problems that we have collectively is if we don't listen to all sides of a story, because we have to think about what's missing, what aren't we seeing, and if we don't have these debates like Brandon giving his view, me giving the European view, or my own personal view, then we can't kind of, how are we ever going to actually meet in the middle and find some kind of compromise? Because I just feel it's so important, especially with Uranus going soon into Gemini, to dip its toes into Gemini, where we are really going to have to wake up in a big way. And I don't know what this means because, I'm human in that sense. I don't know what this means, but I do know that Uranus in Gemini is really going to wake us up. And the kind of rebellious feelings and talk and behavior that is going to come out of the collective is enormous. That's
Yeah.
my personal view. I don't know what you think
Yeah.
about that.
And no, listen. First of all, congratulations, because you're always spot on. Number two, you're trying to talk to somebody that doesn't want to hear it. You have to understand what Trump has done. Trump, for the lack of better purposes, has manipulated the energy to create the enemy within us.
Mm-hmm.
He has divided us sixfold. By the way, someone else did it. He ruled the Third Reich. I know I can't believe you're paralleling this. But
Mm.
literally everything that we're experiencing is a relive of what went on in 1938. And
Yeah.
interesting enough, from everything from taking over the cultural center, from everything from taking over the central banking, everything from taking over the knowledge, that's why they burn books, everything that, like, listen, democracy is a full contact sport, but democracy and capitalism actually don't go hand in hand, which is the problem that we've had from day one, right?
Mm.
And I actually think that why so many people have been traumatized, this is my experience with running a channel and having people come on to that and just
Yeah.
trying to find solace in the moment, is
Yeah.
that we are reliving a past life that we've already seen up close, and it is terrifying us because we already know how it ends.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting what Simi has just said in reply to Andy Walsh, that, Simi is saying, who is the lesser evil? Because Andy was saying, maybe Trump is here for a purpose. And I think that that's the part of this bigger picture that we miss sometimes. Sometimes somebody has to appear, and I know we've talked about this before, Brandon,
Sure.
because you have to have sometimes someone that really turns up the whole apple cart and says, enough of this. We've got to kind of, you've all got to wake up. So
Yeah.
it's like putting, a fox in a chicken pen. Sometimes you just have to do that to wake everyone up. And I think that's partly what the plan is of the divine, if you like, the cosmos. And it makes us think. It's getting us to really go within and identify what our beliefs and what is true for each and every one of us individually. And that's where I think it's a shame when we can't debate it, because we're missing out on this wonderful opportunity to listen to all the alternative views,
Right.
and positives, the negatives about Trump, Vance, whoever, Biden. And we're not seeing the bigger picture, that actually we can all individually learn something from this. And do you know what I mean? And grow in our own consciousness and awareness.
Yeah. And here is kind of a convenient truth to all of this, is that First of all, I freeze on the regular as per usual. When I come snapping back, here we go. Um, one of the one of the things about my arc and my learning of this is being a full-on representative of the Republican Party for a long time. Like I just I understood its values. I thought that it really missed on a lot of things, so it was almost more of a libertarian than anything else, which kind of excludes let me have my own thoughts and views on cultural anomalies, but can we be fiscally responsible, which is basically what libertarian is. Yeah, so I kind of fit just to the right of the center of all of this for a very long time, and I understood it. And when Donald Trump came into play, I couldn't have it because he didn't espouse any of the values that I think that a good person should have. Period. As a business person, as a human, as a forget about being family man or husband or whatever. Like I can almost detach myself from that. But when you have a trail of people that you don't pay and you bankrupt cities, whole cities, and he ruined an entire football league. Like the guy is just carnage. His track record is carnage. And that's the part that I could never really I couldn't rationalize. And even when I tried to look at the other side of like, how does this come to be? Or is this person good for the whole piece of it? I mean, in hindsight, we'll probably look back and say, thank goodness Donald Trump ruined everything. But there'll never be a not negative connotation to him in future. There just won't. Because he'll either dismantle things so unequivocally, but he gets fueled when moments in time like have his Uranus, having Uranus conjunct to his midheaven. Like that is his sweet spot. He defines chaos. And that planet has spoken truth to everything he's ever done. And I think that we have to kind of I don't think we have to do anything anymore. This is no longer a community game. It's an individual game because in fight or flight mode, which he's put all of us into, we have to defend ourselves, period.
Well, actually, let's debate that because you may be in fight or flight mode. I don't particularly feel I'm in fight or flight mode. I'm in Europe and I'm living my life and I'm observing what is going on in Europe politically and what is going on in the US politically.
Right.
And planning for myself the best way forward and how does what can happen spill into, say, the UK, where I'm hoping to return to, so that I face earthquakes in the Mediterranean, or I go home to different earthquakes. So I think it's yes, Cosmic BL talking about two-party systems. I think that is a really important point because we've, in the UK, the politics have got really crazy because the Reform Party is now the biggest party polling wise. It's bigger than Labour, it's bigger than Conservatives, this is Nigel Farage's party. And his sort of second in command is I've forgotten his name, but he's a really, really interesting guy and has a quality about him that I can see could be a potential leader. And I just think that, and I don't know whether this would be helpful in the United States if they got into a three-party system where you don't have this or that, but you have this or that. And I think UK,
easy.
this or that might actually, I'm hoping there might be an election in the UK in the not too distant future and Reform get in. I think it'd be wonderful.
Yeah, and it also sounds like now parliamentary, government.
Yeah.
Yeah, Richard Trice, yeah. Parliamentary government allows for multiple parties, right? And quite frankly, our government allows third parties in too, but it's a money crush. I mean, that's the other thing that's going on here in the United States. This is money crush. This is where if they
what do you mean by that?
Well, if they don't like you, they will sue you to the nth degree and you'll have to buy your way out of it. And
Oh,
so
right.
what they do is they crush you. What they do is they take an entity they don't like and sue them or bring false charges against them. So they have to defend themselves. So they steal their energy and they make it go into another direction. So by having a two-party system, you know how to divide and conquer.
Mm,
The Democratic Party in the United States did a really good job at talking about how altruistic and how great they were, and then didn't put in the guardrails and the boundaries around common sense. They just
mm,
lacked it. I mean,
mm,
nobody is denying someone that is trans their rights, but let's make 5 more laws around it was a little silly. It was a
mm,
little silly that we needed to pander and recognize that, this protective class that, has pink fingernails needs their own set of rights. That's out of control.
mm,
That is not the part of what's necessary. The
mm.
bathroom has traditionally been 2 rooms,
Yeah,
indoor
I agree,
plumbing and outdoor plumbing.
with that. Yeah, yeah.
We didn't need to complicate it, and we did.
Mm. But let's not drift away from what the point is about our discussion. What is the point about a discussion? I
I
mean,
don't know, Penny. What's going on with you?
I'm going to tell you because we have to remember it's Valentine's Day.
No, stop.
Oh no, you're not going to get away with this. So
Oh, look
we
at the
are
time.
going to look at each other's charts because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen to you today.
No,
And you're going to
that's
tell me what's going to happen to me today.
I think I'm
Look,
gonna get it.
you know,
I'm really seriously considering getting a dog.
you get, you're going to get a dog. What's that got to
Well, I
do?
mean, dogs are like the equivalent to like women cats, right? I don't
Oh,
know. I joke around about that. So who's gonna go first? You go
I'm,
first, so I know how mean to be. I mean, how accurate to be.
okay.
Oh,
So
look at this.
right, I'm going to look at Brandon Russ with
I'll tell
Valentine.
you what I'm personally going through after you give me and
All right. Well, this will be interesting then because we'll see whether I'm spot on.
sure.
Well, there's certainly a lot of talk going on for you to do today to do with a relationship because Mercury just moved into Pisces, into your 7th house. So you've got, oh, Jesus Christ. And sorry, I'll
Yeah,
just
I
say
see
it.
that every time I look at my chart too. Jesus Christ. Holy shit, B. Whatever. Sometimes knowledge isn't good.
Hello, Poonam. I'm glad you could join us. It doesn't matter that you're late.
You're right. Oh gosh, look at the time. Look at the time.
I know, I know, and I'm doing a live in about an hour after we finish. So if we're
Mhm.
finished roughly in half an hour, I'm then doing another live with Sarah on my channel or our channel, channeling by Penny and Sarah. So we're
Love it.
doing our first live.
I
We've never.
love it. Heart taps for you all day.
Oh, bless you. It's going to be
Mm.
fun. We're really going to look at the sort of the more challenging sides of Valentine's Day because it is a difficult day for some people. All these times, I'm trying to lighten the energy here, Brandon,
I know
so that
you
we
are.
just move away from. I'm going to look at your chart.
Listen, it's a tall order with me over the last 72 hours, and don't take it personal. You're doing great.
Okay, no, I of course I don't take it personally because I know I'm a good astrologer.
You're an
Without
excellent
my
astrologer.
own it.
You're an excellent astrologer.
Thank you. But I think, well, actually, the first thing that I'm noticing is that Uranus in your 10th house, and of course, you got that there for, um, a few years, actually. So your public persona, I would think, at some point, especially when Uranus moves into Gemini in the middle of the year, around about May, I think it is, and stays there for 2 or 3 months, we're going to see a lot more of you on YouTube and in other areas, and your public image is going to get even bigger. Is that on the cards? Or you don't want to say?
I would agree with that. Are
Oh,
you talking about, you cut out a little bit here, but
did I?
just to recap so that we get it on you're talking about Uranus moving into Gemini in
Yeah,
that in that 10th house and the public persona really expanding.
yeah, and good for business. But it's like Jupiter is conjunct your natal Saturn. So you've got this kind of energy of you've got lots of ideas because it's in Gemini. So you've got all, and I know you have these ideas because we've talked about it, and it's conjunct your Saturn. So it's like Saturn is saying, whoa, 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 it's not quite time yet. Slow down.
Yeah.
Let's just take this one step at a time. But I want to look at the interesting stuff in your 7th house of relationships.
Why would you ever want to do something like that?
Well, because Saturn is still really widely conjunct your sun, isn't it?
I'm sorry,
You know,
what's conjunct my sun?
Saturn is
Oh,
still
yes,
your,
my stability.
so yeah, your stability is really being rattled by both your sun in Pisces and Saturn in Pisces. Saturn
Yeah.
seems to me it's like you're trying to make sense of a whole load of things to do with relationships and to try and put down some kind of roots and have some boundaries that suit you more. And Mercury, having just moved into your 7th house, conjunct your natal Venus,
Mhm.
there is a sense of today you really enjoying actually some very deep and interesting discussions
Mm.
with another. Well, of course, it's me, Brandon, isn't it? We know it's me.
Keep going.
Okay, I'll keep going.
Well
Um,
well, and
yeah,
I think it's interesting what you're saying too about that kind of, part of that is also the level of creativity too, that it
mhm.
seems to be. And I'll, give me 90 seconds after this and I'll point 3 things out in my chart that are absolutely applicable and how it's kind of affecting. And you're like touching on it all the way kind of through it, where it's like it's just not having conversations, it's like going deep. It's like
And
it's just not connecting. It's having clearances, almost not connection, but clearances, if that makes sense.
it
Yeah,
does.
go
And
ahead.
I'm also looking at the ascendant. I did this chart for when we started the show tonight at 5 o'clock Universal Time. And
Hmm.
the ascendant is actually conjunct your ascendant. It's just in your 12th house.
Oh,
So there's something about your um, how you want your this it feels like today there is something of you that you need to hold back because and what I pick up on an energetic level is that there is something on some inner level that is really not okay for you at the moment in general. Does that make sense?
yeah, it would pretty much be that. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, very accurate. So it's
You've also got that Pluto, of course, conjunct your moon for quite a while. So that's really shaking the apple tree around your psychic abilities, your intuition, your day-to-day working routine, but also to do with working with larger groups of people, and of course the feminine. So
yeah.
and Pluto is also conjunct your Jupiter because you've got Jupiter conjunct the moon natally. So um, your working life and the way you serve others is being dramatically transformed and changed. And of course, as you know, that's going to be ongoing over the next kind of 10, 15 years.
Well, it's good to hear I got 10 to 15 years into me.
Just about.
That's a good part. Yeah, I think that's very everything you
You've frozen
said
again.
was accurate, because
Yeah.
I'm going to point out the 3 things that are in my chart that so
Okay.
whenever you analyze,
Mm-hmm.
are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Whenever you see whenever you work with a natal chart and then a transit chart around it, right?
Yeah,
You look at what has formed the person on their natal chart, and then you look at the transits and how it affects them.
yeah.
And there's 3 things here.
You've frozen.
Jupiter,
You're
oh,
back.
did we lose
You're back.
everybody again? So
I lost. Yeah.
Saturn invested in the 10th
Mm?
Saturn invested in the 10th house here, and Jupiter sitting between the two of them right now is an empowerment code of being like, "Hey, structure, apply your lessons, see where you're."
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. You've frozen and I can't hear you.
into
You keep coming and going.
yeah, of course, of course, because why would anything work around here?
Is that how it is at the moment?
Yeah, that's how everything is. It's
Nothing is working.
disturbing. I can't even record anything right now.
Wow.
So
And is that,
Jupiter in between,
yeah, yeah, but let me just ask you, is that technical or is it also metaphorical?
maybe.
Okay.
Maybe I don't want to unleash on anything or anybody. I want to make sure it's right.
Okay.
And in the 6th house with Jupiter and the moon, I
Mm.
have I have Pluto splitting the two of them,
Yeah,
just
that's
like I have Jupiter splitting Saturn and Vesta.
yeah, yeah,
And then
good.
here in the 7th house where I have a void in between my very important, Sun and Venus,
Yes.
and Mercury is gonna move into it. So
It is.
this is where I start to kind of make moves and understand who I am. And then Saturn is squared to Saturn right now. So,
Yeah.
these are mile markers and pole points of people's lives that you
Mm.
have to pay attention to. When Saturn squares Saturn, this is where it's the heads up to be like, hey, you're headed towards your Saturn return. You have a finite amount of time where you
Yeah.
have to make your legacies concrete.
Yeah.
It's a thing. It's
Yeah.
a thing. So, yeah, I think everything that you said there was pretty accurate. Um,
Mm.
are you ready? You're ready for a little bit of
Yeah.
you?
Go on. Go
Are
on.
you sure?
Do me, Brandon. Yeah, go on,
Are you
do me.
sure? Are you sure that things won't break up 100 times?
Probably.
My gosh. So
Tell me.
3 things right out of the gate with this. We always kind of say 3 things. So, Uranus has been dancing around your sun pretty much ever since we met. That
Yes.
was you taking the internet to a higher rate. This is you being known around the world now. You
Mm.
also have Jupiter or you have Pluto over your Chiron. So this has been a ton of healing. This has
Yeah.
been you getting your back right. This has been you getting
Yeah.
your stuff together, changing
Yeah.
locations and all that other stuff. But of course, you can't not talk about love without without Venus being in there. And
Yeah.
listen, your Venus is in your 9th house.
Anyway.
You're up against the era, so you're doing a lot of closure work right now. You're
Ah, that's
closing
true.
past relationships,
Mm.
right?
That's true. It's as a friend of mine said, it's like I'm leaving a trail of dead
And
bodies behind.
it's
Hello, hello.
yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, no.
I'm just laughing
A
because
friend
it's
of mine said I seem to be everywhere, wherever I go at the moment. I just leave a trail of dead bodies behind me as I sort of dispense with people and and get rid of them,
you
or
leave
they just
bodies.
dispense themselves.
But look at this self-empowerment of who you are. This is a great day for you to work and really, really push yourself because you have your ascendant on Pluto right now in
Oh
your
yes.
1st house. And that's
Oh
always been a thing for you. Being an early Leo in your ascendant is a
yeah,
super important identity feature for you
yeah.
because that means that you're going to be that yeah, it's almost like you can't stay in one spot for all that long. Even when you're settled, you're like, I'm settled for now. Everything's for now. Everything's for now. This is
Yes.
one of those things where you would want to say, hey, I want to step into my own power here. So you saying, oh, I've got a thing at 5, and then I have a thing at 6:30, and then I have a thing at whatever. So of course you're going to want to do all those things. This is a super day for you in
Yeah,
a lot of
actually,
different
so
ways.
far it has been, and so far it has been. And
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 having
I
your do you notice though in your chart that
um, Eris
Eris this is
and Venus is just
impossible.
coming up to conjunct my Eris.
Well, Venus and Eris are doing the dance between the conjunct and then the natal. So
Mm,
Eris conjunct Venus and Venus conjunct Eris.
mm,
This is you applying life lessons in a big, big way. This is a
mm,
big let go weekend for you, and
mm.
it's about letting stuff go
Yeah.
in a
I
big way. It's just saying, hey, I'll just chalk it up to the lessons that are.
yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. It's certainly about a letting go at the moment. Yeah. I think also what's interesting, and this is interesting for everybody that you know has knows their natal chart fairly well, is that because when you move locations, your ascendant degree can change. When I
Yeah.
moved back to the UK, my ascendant will go back to 6 degrees instead of 8 degrees, which is really interesting because it's almost like I get a chance to use all of that energy I've been using here in Gozo again, because it shifts everything back a few degrees. And it's just really
Mm.
interesting because I've looked at my English chart compared with the transits, and I'm thinking, oh, that's interesting. So it's like I get a second go. And the other thing which is really interesting is that the progressions, of course, change when you change locations.
Yeah,
So
it's amazing how much that really affects it. Now, where were you born? You were born in Binghamton or Birmingham?
Croydon, I'm not Birmingham. How
What?
dare you?
I don't know what I just said. Did I just say Brooklyn or South Central? What what
I'm from
what city were you
Croydon.
born in?
I was born in Croydon, UK, England, Surrey.
I'm laughing.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna go here. I'm just gonna look up my chart here and see how that would change. How it would change my rising sign. You know, because it matters,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
As we talk about
What, if
this.
you moved to where?
If I had been born in England,
Oh,
nearby
okay.
you, and gosh, I'm trying to look up your city here.
Croydon.
How do you spell it? Oh,
Croydon.
that's why. I
Yeah.
thought you said
Lightseeker, Birmingham. She's laughing.
C.
I would have a Birmingham accent if I'd lived in Birmingham. I'm missing some of your chat, guys. I don't know what you're saying. Lisa and
Birmingham. I don't know what I'm talking about.
just put London in. Just put London. It's
Oh,
easier.
Jesus, for the love of God, if I just done that. So just to let everybody know, that would have pushed
Yeah.
me into a Virgo rising. Boy, would that have changed me.
Wow. Now that is interesting, isn't it?
I
Yeah.
would have been a 0-degree Virgo.
Wow.
I would have had a
And the thing
although
is,
that would have changed my time frame. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
okay.
Because then I would have had to move up 5 hours.
Janice, you said you had a very bad aeroplane experience yesterday. I saw because I think you left a comment on my video from this morning, and
Wow.
it sounds like you had a really SH1T day. But this is Uranus, and this is probably due to the full moon we've just had, Janice, because Uranus squared the full moon, and it's kind of like shocks, the unexpected change. And what are you saying, Andy? Your husband Tim is a Virgo rising, and yes, it would have changed you, Brandon. It would have done. Yeah.
Well, listen. I have a commentary on the FFA too. On the FAA
You
rather.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
it would have actually moved me to a
Libra. You've gone
rising sign.
Libra. If you lived in London. I've lost you, Brandon. I don't know if anyone else can hear me.
I know why yeah, there we go.
It
I think we're back. I'm not sure.
well, I'm here for about another 5 minutes, and then I have to go.
Yeah, I understand. So I'm gonna mention that the FAA, and as much as there is an astrological challenge with this, it might also be because all of the regulations about staffing and communication in the FAA have actually been dismantled in the last 20 days. So there's two things going on with that. When I was coming back from Texas on my trip, I had to stay an extra day because the flight I had originally booked on was canceled because basically deregulated any of the airlines from having a minimum employment staff. So basically what they did is they said to a whole bunch of pilots and crew, you're all fired, but we're going to hire you back as consultants. And pilots basically said, no, you can't jerk us around like that. We want our rights. We want to, you can't just fire us. You can't just let us go. And they're like, well, we're deunionized now. We don't have to pay attention to this. It wreaked havoc for travel for 3 days. And it didn't even get reported in legacy media.
Wow.
Didn't even get reported. Nobody even talked about it. We've had 7 plane crashes.
Yeah, I know.
7.
I just want to answer Leaf Sand Gears.
Holy power.
Yes, my love. If you relocate, you do a new natal chart with the new location, because it can change your rising sign. And also Tartan Spice, love your name. Is Croydon near Gatwick Airport? Yes, it is. You drove through Croydon. Yes, you would have done, to London, Leicester Terrace. Yeah, you would have joined. Yes, Croydon is near Gatwick. Yeah.
Look at that.
If I'm in the UK.
Gatwick. Look at this. Everybody's just like loving your hometown. I love that.
Actually, right. Croydon is the arsehole of the world. It's like the pimple on the arse of the universe. It's a horrible place. It wasn't too bad when I was born there, but it's really gone downhill.
I used to say Cohoes is the armpit of North America, because it's just where it starts to like crinkle up.
Where you live. Oh, right. Listen, let Martina Alcaraz. What if we relocate at age 18? Doesn't matter what age you are, Martina, when you relocate, it still means that you have a different rising sign, and it affects, because it's to do with the latitude and the longitude of the geography of the planet. So if you move north and south from where you're living, then it won't change much. Like I moved south to Gozo from London, so it only changed a couple of degrees. It didn't actually change sign. But I looked the other day to see what my rising sign would be if I moved to Thailand. And it was, I can't remember now, but it was completely different, but actually changed my chart quite dramatically, to the point that I thought, hey, that wouldn't be a bad place for me to live. That could be quite cool. So it's really interesting. And this is kind of what we call, oh gosh, and I've forgotten again, like the relocation astrology, where you, oh God, there's a word for it, where you, if you are going to move, you basically relocate your chart, but there's a proper word and I can't remember what it is. Are you frozen or are you listening to me, Brad?
And I'm going to say it and it's going to come out wrong. It's like something along the lines of like transcartography.
Something like
that. Of course. We even have trans in astrology.
Yes. Astrocartography. Thank you, Deb Ogden. Yes.
But there's actually a term about relocation where there's another like prefix words. It's like transgender, trans something. It's awful. I'm so worried about freezing that I'm trying to fit it in. But there's an actual term about the astrocartography that actually talks about what would actually change. It's actually a graph of what would change for you when you live in,
it changes all the planets. Astroseek.com have an astrocartography program, so that you can just put all your details in and it sets out the world map, and you can see what you would be and where everything would be and how it would affect you, because you might find Mars goes right through.
Yes, it might.
Living,
this is awful.
What's that? You mean the internet connection? Yes, Tartan Spice.
It's the internet connection. Now your commentary. Listen, we're 3 years into it. So if I was going to tell you your commentary was terrible, I just said something long before now.
Whose commentary is terrible? Mine?
No, yeah, it's all of it. It's brutal. It's been a problem. I'm sorry, everybody. It's not working. None of this is working right now.
It's the interruptions from the lack of internet, isn't it?
Don't
get down about it, Brandon. It's just one of those
So,
things.
so tell me, when you did a show, you did a live yesterday, right?
No, we're doing a live in about an hour's time, hour and a quarter's time.
All right, I'm going to be
Means
watching for that because this is like completely this isn't good. And I know we have brutally cold weather right now because of the wind and everything else,
yeah.
but something's up. Something's up.
What you think with the internet in general?
Well, I also think that it's, when you become a voice, you become a target. So there's that.
Yeah, I know. I've noticed, and I know we've got to finish in a minute, but I've noticed that when I say certain things or do certain things, I get hits on my website from places like Beijing
Yeah.
and Moscow and St. Petersburg. And I just think, oh, that's
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah,
And
and it's
subscribe
also
and
interesting
go
how
up
much of
one,
that
and it goes
happens.
down one, they just kind of come to have a look.
So I just wanted to why don't we wrap up? You got your
Yeah,
other show. Make sure you tune in on Penny's channel. And why don't we do some heart taps specifically to
shall we?
Ann Lip?
And
We should.
listen, Brandon,
Yes.
calm down. Everything will be all right. Whatever it is you're worrying about, I'm telling you, everything will be all right. And I'm sending you Valentine's Day hugs and love and kisses and heart taps.
Thank you so much. My heart tap is going out to Ann Lipman, who, decided that she could change the world with as a keyboard warrior, and it didn't work. But keep trying, keep watching. The rest of us are out here adopting and caring for others and all that other stuff, and we'll figure out who makes a real difference. But you, my dear, heart taps to you. I love your growth. I love your frozen
Thank
face right now. You have this every once in a while. It's so funny when like we freeze. It's the most unflattering, kind of look at this. I'm picking my ears. Yeah, it's like like it's constant freezing. Anyways, at least we're having fun with it. All right, love. Listen, hard taps to
And
everybody.
listen, let me say, join me in about 45 minutes. No, an hour and 15 minutes on our channel, Channeling by Penny and Sarah. And we're doing our live all about Valentine's Day, problems with isolation, being alone, and all the media hype and everything around a day like today.
All right, cool. All right, guys. Thanks again. Tune in next time. Hopefully, we'll figure out all this stuff and not be frozen, figuratively and literally. Talk to you soon, guys. Keep
We
going.
will. Take care.